So today I'm going to walk you through the process of fabricating this custom headache rack for my Knapheide flatbed, 11-foot flatbed on my Ram 3500 dually. First thing I did was get one of these inexpensive digital angle finders from Amazon. It's pretty self-explanatory how it works. And I just use this digital angle finder to eyeball a couple of angles that were pleasing to my eye. And I wrote those down. Then I took these magnetic tool holders and I used a microfiber towel to keep them from scratching my truck. Then I double checked my angles. Next I used a divider to scribe a line parallel to the bed. Then I used a silver welder's pencil to make the lines more visible. Then I cut on the line with a cutoff wheel on an angle grinder. Then I used this piece of a brown craft paper grocery bag to trace this angle. Then I could turn this pattern inside out and make a mirror image for the other side of the truck. The flatbed on this truck is often my outdoor workbench. I had to lay out some threaded holes in the bed to attach this rack to. And this is just a threaded plate that I made earlier, and I use this clothesline to pull it up through there, and then I tack it in. So now there's a nice threaded insert underneath the diamond plate to screw this headache rack to. So here I am just screwing a tab down. And then this is just a little chunk of metal that I made that fits into that stake pocket. And I triple check all my angles again. And then I do the same thing on the other side. Make a mirror image. Then I just tack it in. I used a fiberglass welding blanket to protect the cab of my truck. Then I just bridged these two pieces, these two uprights, with a piece of angle iron. I used the magnetic tool holder again as a straight line template to cut this filler panel with the plasma torch. These things are so handy, I use them all the time. And this is the plasma cutter I use, Miller Spectrum 375. And then I just welded in place, bridging these two uprights. Now I'm using my magnet again to kind of project off of this body line on the cab. Then I cut the passenger side to match. Then I screwed this magnet to a piece of 2x4 to use for a spacer. So I just used it to space this second piece of steel away from the cab and set my forward angle. And I'm just tacking this piece of steel on. Then I'm going to use a little spray paint to make my scribed lines more visible. Then I'm going to check all my angles and write them down. Do some cutting with my angle grinder again, cutoff wheel. Got to protect my cab from the sparks. And I'm just cutting on this line I scribed earlier. Here's me using my bandsaw that I made in another video. Then I used the grocery bag trick to mirror all these compound angles for the other side. You just make this pattern and then you flip it inside out and it makes a mirror image for the other side. Trusty cutoff wheel again. Then I'm just tacking it in place. Then I put my welding blanket up and I can weld them solid. Then I use this masking tape to kind of visualize in 3 dimensions the angles for this cross piece and get them marked on my tubes. Then I just put up my welding blanket again and get my trusty angle grinder with a cutoff wheel and go about whacking them off. And at a certain point I switch to the Sawzall for a minute. Then I do the other side. Next, I measured corner to corner on each of these 4 spans. And I wrote the numbers down. Then I just measured out from that center line that you can see all 4 of those measurements to create this spanner for the top over the cab. Trusty angle grinder, cutoff wheel. Next, we're going to use CAD, or cardboard aided design, to start fleshing this thing out. Then I'm going to tack in this kind of temporary support piece. That way I can start kind of framing up the rear of this rack. And I'm doing it the same way with the divider. Welder's pencil. Bandsaw. Paper bag pattern and mirror. Next, I just picked an angle I liked and I welded this rectangle plate in the top for kind of a roof on this headache rack. And I'm just going to bring everything else up to meet it so I can match angles. Next, I use my knee mill to make a slot in a piece of 2x2 square tubing for my work light. I'm going to install a recessed LED work light. Next, I'm just going to weld these little steel blocks in place, and that'll give me a place to drill and tap and mount the work light. I use the angle finder again to pick an aesthetically pleasing angle. Then I use this masking tape to project the line on over this corner. Then I did the same thing on the other side. And back to the cutoff wheel. again. Now the sawzall. Other side. Things got a little funky here. Basically what I did was I took a couple of offcut pieces of this square tubing that are way short for this, and I linked them up with magnets, and I had to go get a third magnet to keep them straight, and that way I could mark my miters on the ends. Then I cut the angle I just marked into this top tube. And then I used paper patterns like we've been doing to transfer the miters from these short scrap tubes to the actual full-length tube that I'm going to put in their place. There's got to be an easier way, but this is what I came up with, and it worked. Then I just used my cardboard template to cut out plate to skin this thing with. Don't worry, I had on my safety squints. Now I had a corrupted memory card, so I lost the footage of welding this whole thing solid. But basically just a whole bunch of welding and then a whole bunch of blending the welds with a grinder. Then I used this homemade circle jig attachment for my hand plasma torch to cut those circles, those windows out. And it's a shame I lost that footage, but this is exactly how it was done. And I've made a full video on building this attachment, so you can check it out. Check out my other videos. Then I made these attachments to house my LED taillights. And this is just a taillight bracket that I got for cheap on Amazon. And this is just a piece of aluminum that I milled out slightly larger than the hole I needed. Then I took the whole thing off the truck and brought it into the shop for finish welding. This is an E-track for attaching things so I can tie things down to the rack. I put one here and I put one up top, but I think I lost the footage of, welding the one up top, but you'll see it in a minute. I just used spray paint to mark a line for cutting this expanded metal. Next, she went out for sandblasting. And finally, powder coat. And that's all she wrote. Thanks for watching.